Diamonds from South Africa, Justin and Lauren Stern, say that when they signed up to be Amway IBOs, they knew they would be free. It was just a matter of time. Early on in Justin's career, he realized he didn't want to spend the next 20 years working for someone else simply to have his boss's life at the end of that 20 years. To make your life what you want, Justin says, you have two choices: do more or accept less. And now, here's Justin Stern.
People become desperate to achieve in this business. And then they're willing to do whatever they have to do to achieve. And the more they want to achieve, the more desperate they are to reach their goals. Have any of you found it out like that? Right, I'll give you an example. You might be a young guy when you're 15, 20, 30. I don't know what the age is for you. And you see the lady of your dreams. And you're really desperate to go out or get a date with that lady. And you do over-the-top kind of stuff to get that date. And what happens to the lady? She runs. Because the more desperate you are to get that date, the more the lady runs, right or wrong. I don't know why ladies are like that, but that's just how they are, wherever you go. Now, you've heard the saying, if you love something, set it free. If it's meant to be, it comes back to you, right? And that's how I found it was chasing a goal. The more desperate I was to achieve a goal, the more I was actually pushing that goal out. And that desperation came out in things that we did. It came out in the way we showed a presentation. It came out in the way we followed up with people. It came out in the way we treated people, the way we spoke to people. Because you basically stink of desperation. And when you stink of something, people run away, don't they? It's like pigeons in a park. If you've got a whole lot of pigeons, they're in a park and they haven't eaten for many, many months or however long it is, and you take a loaf of bread and you throw it at the pigeons, what happens? They fly. But if you take that bread and put it in your hand and just scatter that bread as you're walking along, eventually those pigeons just follow you wherever you go. Are you with me on that? So that's what I found. I needed to find out how to get out of desperation. That was the main question. But I wanted to find out as quickly as possible, when I realized that that was one of the handbrakes that was holding us back, how to get to that point of inspiration, how to get inspired. So for us, in terms of the context of this example, the opposite of desperation is inspiration. How do you get from desperation to inspiration? And I'll cover that in a couple of minutes for you. But what I realized is that you need to get there to move, for us, from emerald to diamond. Now, you might need to get there to move from platinum to emerald. You might need to get there to move from diamond to double diamond. I don't know. But somewhere along the line, I find that most people get stuck on that. One of the things that I understood when we were being desperate is that everything stems from a selfish perspective. Everything you're doing when you come from a point of desperation is for your own good. It's like if you have a VIP challenge and you need to get a certain amount of apps, you're going out there looking who you can suck in so you can qualify for that meeting. You with me on that? You're not looking at who you can get into the business to change their life. You're doing it from a selfish perspective of who can you drag in so you can get something out of it. When you come from a point of inspiration, you're doing it to help them, but to help you afterwards. You're always putting somebody else first before you putting yourself into the picture. So would you agree with me that every single person who builds this business at some point or another feels some frustration? If not, maybe you just haven't been in long enough. But it's going to happen. Everybody gets frustrated. You get frustrated because your best RBO put the business on hold because they got a promotion at work. You get frustrated because some people didn't turn up to the weekend seminar. You get frustrated because you missed a goal. There's a whole lot of reasons why we get frustrated in this type of business. And the reason why we get frustrated is because we're always working with people. See, the nice thing if I had an office job is that if I leave my office on Friday evening and I come back to my office on Monday morning, everything's where I left it. The computer's there, the pens are there, the stationery's there, everything is where I left it. If I leave somebody on a Friday afternoon and I come back to them on a Monday morning, 9 out of 10 times are not the same as they were Friday afternoon as it was Monday morning. So because we're working with people, that's going to lead to frustration. And the more frustrated I found that we were getting, the more desperate we wanted to get, the more frustrated we were getting, the more desperate we were getting, the more frustrated we were getting, the more desperate. And it was just a cycle going down and down and down. Does that make sense to you? So the key was, how do we get out of that cycle? How do we learn just to break that? So I want to just give you 3 questions that we learned to ask ourselves that helped us get out of that desperation and move into inspiration. It helped us take that car from 20 miles an hour to 200 miles per hour. And where it all starts, as you know, and it's nothing new that I'm teaching you, is it all starts with a goal. Because what I've found is that if you don't have a goal in this business, all you're doing is just building this business methodically. We've been through periods where we've built this business, going into living rooms, and everything is just going methodically. Now, as my best friend, and you'll hear about our story later on, and my upline, although he's more my best friend and my upline, Kevin Harris, and I'm sure some of you have heard some of his CDs, and some of you might have the privilege of meeting Kevin. We went to nurse school together. And all Kevin basically says is going diamond is just 2 18-month sections of really being focused. That's all it is. It's 1 18-month section of being really focused to get to emerald, and another 18 months just to get to diamond. So then I said to Kevin, well, if it's just 2 18-month sections, what have you been doing for the other last 9 years? And he said exactly that, just building methodically. Because when you don't have a goal and you just do things methodically, nothing really happens. Right? You're hoping for things to happen as opposed to expecting things to happen. And we'll come to that in a couple of minutes' time. So you need to make sure that you've got a goal, that you've got something in place, that you've got dreams and aspirations that you want to achieve. And that's the first thing I learned from Letter 21. The very first thing, the first point I learned is write down your dreams, write down your goals, write down what you want to achieve. So what I want you to do just as quickly as possible is write down for me on the piece of paper you have just any 5 dreams that you want to achieve, whatever it is. Don't be specific, just anything. If you want more time with the family, just write time with the family. If you want more money, just write money. Whatever it is, I just want to keep it very, very broad just for a second here. Now, once you've got those 5 points down, let me show you the 3 questions that we came up with that really helped us move from desperation to inspiration. The first question that we asked ourselves is, what does this mean to me? So the first thing that Laura and I put down as an example I'll give you is we wanted more time with the family. When I asked myself that question, what does this mean to me? I'd give myself an answer of about 5 to 10 lines. And for us, it would go something like this. What does it mean to me to have more time with my family? It means I can wake up in the morning, I don't have to rush to the shower, throw down my breakfast and kiss my kids goodbye and speed off to work. Not that I work, but anyway. It means I can build a relationship with my kids, be their best friend, watch them play sport every afternoon of the week. Spend as many lunches with my wife. It means we could go away as a family more than 12 times a year and do the things we enjoy doing, and so on and so on and so on. But I needed to find out what more time with my family meant to me. It doesn't help just writing down, well, I want more time with my family. What does it actually mean to you to have more time with your family? Then the second question was, what would it look like when I have more time with my family? And again, we wrote down 5 to 10 lines of what would it look like when we can spend more time as a family together. And we put down for every one of our dreams the answers to these questions. And here comes the third question, which helped us move from being desperate to being inspired, was, what about that inspires me? What about that inspires me to spend more time with my family? And an answer that we put down is, most dads can't live like that. They're slogging it out in the 40-year plan. Not that there's anything wrong with that, if that's where you prefer to be. And even those who have millions in their bank accounts still don't have the time to spend with their family. They're still so stressed out reporting to shareholders, doctors, patients, whatever it is. What inspires me is I'm free, I'm flexible, and I control my diary 100%. And every time I started getting that feeling of desperation, that's what I went back to. Because it doesn't help me being desperate around RBOs in my business. Because what happens then? They just run from me. They don't want to spend much time around us, and that's what we found. So most people we found don't really attach a goal to anything. I found with Laura and I, when we were sitting down with RBOs in our business, and I'd have a conversation with them, and I'd say, well, what's your goal for this fiscal? And they would say, well, I want to go emerald. Now, that's a pretty good goal. But I've learned with the experience, and certainly we don't have much experience compared to the leadership you have here in the room, but I did learn with the little experience that I have that going emerald is not a goal. See, it has to have some feeling attached to it to make it a goal. So I said to him, well, what does emerald mean to you? Right? Come back to me and tell me, what does emerald mean to you? Going emerald is just a pin with an emerald stone in it. It has some value in a room like this, but out on the street it has zero value. What does it mean to you to go emerald? And I actually had a whole lot of people coming back to us telling us, what does it mean to them to be emerald? What it meant, as I mentioned, they could spend more time with their family. One of the husband or wife could give up work. They could pay off their mortgage. They could pay off their cars. And when people started to get the internal feeling of what that meant to them, then their results started to change. Being inspired has feeling to it. Being inspired moves you. Being inspired gives you energy. It excites you. I find that when people are being desperate, they have the feeling of anxiety and fear. That's what they have. And I find it's very difficult to move people on, inspire people and help them when you yourself come from a position of anxiety and fear. So being inspired certainly helped us become like a magnet. It helped us move things forward a lot quicker. Now, let me let you in on a little secret that we found. You can never, ever get rid of desperation completely. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to get rid of desperation, because there are going to be little triggers that are going to come along. They're going to trigger off that desperation like that. I'll give you one of them, month end. So how do you handle that now? Right? It's now month end, last day of the month. The person who said they were going Leaders Club is nowhere near Leaders Club. Your goal looks like it's going down the side. And you saying, hey, Justin, you're telling me not to be desperate. I want to go throttle them and make sure they get this done. What do I do? You just learn how to master those feelings. Because you see, it doesn't help doing those kind of things on month end if that's what triggers it. So when you get into those little triggers that trigger off desperation again, you learn just how to step back and respond to those feelings as opposed to react to them. So one of the things that I did to learn how to respond to those feelings is I bought a big boxing bag. I put it outside. And when that feeling got triggered off, I went outside for 5 minutes because my upline moved to Cape Town. And we used to go to boxing 3 times a week, Kevin and I. And what actually happened is we started off going to boxing with Kevin's dad's, Basil's permission. And we were just going to do fitness 3 times a week. And after the first week, that was history. 3 times a week, we put on the gloves, we got onto the ring. And we just had it all out because that's our form of fun. Now, very often, Kevin and I, more Kevin than I, went to our home meetings with black eyes and bruises over here and all of that. But, we're just having fun. And so when Kevin moved down to Cape Town, he moved there a couple of years back. I had to buy a boxing bag. The only bad thing with the boxing bag is it doesn't hit back. But that's how I got rid of it. Some people will go put on some music. Some people will go lie in a bath. I don't know what it is. But you learn how to master that feeling of letting that desperation run through you. Maybe going and reading those 3 questions again on the dreams that you have will help you move back towards that point of inspiration. So if I can just ask Henry for the first slide over here, here's something that we really focused on. If this was where we were going, and we were in January, and those are the months at the top, you can see I'm not that melancholy with the spacing, but anyway, if those were the months on top, if I had a goal to achieve in September, here was my thinking. What I did is I took my head and I put my head in September. If my goal was to be platinum in September or silver or start emerald qualification, whatever it is, I took my head from my body and I put my head in September. Now my head is already there in September. My goal is done. It's happened. I'm there. I'm sitting there. I'm living my goal. There it is. I then took my body and I put my body right back in January. And now my goal is to get my body to match up with my head again. It's my simple goal. Now, if something bad happened in January, if an RBO quit or no one pitched up to the home meeting or anything like that, doesn't make a difference. Because I'm not focused on here and now. I already know the future. I can see what's going to happen in September already. So any small obstacle that happens in January is not really going to have a big effect in terms of where I'm going to be in September. I don't get caught up in the small stuff of what's happening right now to affect what's going to happen down there. Does that make sense to you? I'm just absolutely focused that my head is there already. I don't have to worry if one or two things go wrong, because inevitably something's going to go wrong. Nothing always goes right. Someone's going to cancel their CUP, or someone's not going to order their PV, or someone's going to get a promotion in their job, or something like that's going to happen. It's just a question of how you handle it, how you respond to that. So that's something that we used a lot, is that I just knew that's where my head is, that's where my body is, no problem, that's happened already. I've just got to wait the 8 months, catch up my body to my head, and there we are in September. Nothing can change that in the interim. Here's the next handbrake for you. And, you know, there's no better expert than Nancy Dornan in terms of, and this is where I got most of this information from, is just learning the difference between hope and expectancy. You know, what I've found is that most people are just hoping to succeed. I'm not saying in this business, I'm saying in anything in life, most people are just hoping to succeed. There's a huge difference between hope and expectancy. And here's a definition that I came up with of expectancy. Expectancy is believing in spite of the evidence and then watching the evidence change. And that's how it was for us, all the way from emerald to diamond once we figured out these handbrakes. Expectancy is believing in spite of the evidence and then just watching the evidence change. See, there's no conviction, there's no resolve, there's no desire, there's no emotion attached to hope. Hope just is, it's empty. There's nothing in it at the end of the day. To me, just hoping is just being emotionally shut off. Hoping is just going methodically. And if you look at any professional person in any sport, they never hope. You know, you look at a professional golfer. If a professional golfer has 180 yards to hit a shot, and he takes out a 6-iron or whatever he's using, he doesn't hope the ball lands on the green. He expects the ball to land exactly where he wants it to land. Now, for Laura and I and people we work with, we're professional network builders, as Mitch Silas says. So for us, there's no room to hope something happens. We just had to expect that things were going to happen and things were going to be where they needed to be. See, to us, our hope means I'm not committed, but it's to a higher source. It's like, if somebody else does it, that will be great. Our hope gives responsibility away to somebody else. Commitment brings responsibility to you. And if you're a doctor and you did some consultancy work or saw some patients for an hour or two, would you hope to get paid or expect to get paid? Okay? You expect to get paid. You know, if someone, God forbid, was going for a knee operation and you go sit behind the doctor's desk and the doctor says to you, well, hey, Justin, you know, I haven't done that operation for 15 years, but, you know, I hope when we open you up on the operating table, I can remember what to do. And I'm sure we'll have you in there for an hour or so, and I hope to get you out, and hopefully you'll be walking in 6 weeks after that. I'm not hanging around there. Right? As opposed to the doctor saying, hey, Justin, no problem. I expect you in theatre at this time. You'll be out at that time. You know, I expect you to be walking within 2 weeks of the operation. Everything will be fine. Different attitude, isn't it? There's a big difference between hope and expectancy. Expectancy, again, has feeling to it. You see it before it actually happens. Expectancy is that diagram with your head in September your body in January. You expect things to happen. You can see it. Expecting moves you internally. Right? We never had a problem with work. Right? We could outwork anybody in this business. But these were just a couple of small handbrakes that we had along the way. One of the main reasons people don't get what they want is they haven't decided what they want. To move on, you need to know what you want, and it helps you move forward. Then being committed will get you the rest of the goal. Big dreams attract big people. Let me tell you about the third handbrake that we had. The third handbrake that we needed to learn how to move through was the difference between being committed and being interested. And again, we find that most people think that they're committed to what they're doing. I'm not specifically talking about this business. I'm talking about anything. But again, there's a huge line, not even a fine line, between being committed and being interested. You know, how many of you are committed to having a really big business? I mean, you're really committed to doing it. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. One prerequisite for making this business happen is commitment. See, commitment is not something you do, it's something you be. You can't go out and say, oh, well, I'm going to go do commitment. You be committed. Think of which of these statements you'd prefer to hear from your wife, gentlemen. I'd like to stay faithful to my husband. Or, I'm committed to being faithful to my husband. Okay? Big difference. Absolutely big difference. See, every single thing you do in life is a direct response from your commitment to it. So you might be sitting here and saying, well, he's not really telling the truth. I've got 700 people in my first pipeline and I'm not even really committed to this business. Well, what about your second and your third and your fourth and your fifth pipeline? How many people are there? Everything you do in this business is a direct consequence of your commitment to this business. We had to realize that. Just had to get committed to the right things. There's a big difference, as I just mentioned, between being committed to something and liking to do something. It's like going to gym. How many people would like to go to gym every single day, and how many people are committed to going to gym every single day? Right? Going to gym is a very easy decision to say, well, I'm going to gym. It's very easy to go to gym, but it's much easier to stay at home, isn't it? It takes self-discipline, it takes commitment. And in fact, for those people that go to gym at 6 a.m. every single morning, I haven't met many people that actually enjoy going to gym at 6 a.m. every single morning. But they committed to do it. Right? Whether it's raining, whether it's snowing, whether the sun's shining, when there's traffic, there's a commitment element in that, which is why they go to gym every single morning. Not they wake up and they say, oh, I feel like gym this morning, let me go. Right? It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with what they committed to. So most people I find today walk around complaining that they don't have, no, not in America, mainly in South Africa, but they're walking around complaining they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, they're not where they want to be in life. But again, everything is a direct result of what you're committed to. And some people say, well, I'm not even committed to my job and I'm there every single day. And I find that's why they have the life they do. So for Laura and I, if we were going to get committed to something, we wanted to get committed to something that would give us what we wanted in our life. See, when I started this business, it was much different to what I wanted now. And we'll talk about that this evening. What I wanted when I started this business is to have lots of money, as Kevin says, to buy nice cars, go and impress lots of ladies, go do all those kind of things. Today, all I want is to spend time with my family and my 2 boys. That's all I want. I don't want to do anything else except spend time with my 2 boys and spend time with my wife. That's it. And golf. Golf is good. You know, we were just on a December holiday with Kevin and Tamsin, and Kevin and I were fortunate that we played golf every single day, and our wives looked after the kids in the morning, and then we took the kids over in the afternoon, and Lauren and Tamsin enjoyed the afternoon and did what they wanted to do. But that's the life that we want. Right? There's a huge difference between being committed and being busy. Please understand that. We were busy. Right? Between Emerald and Diamond, we were really busy in this business, but we weren't really committed to a goal. And I'll talk about this evening on what actually got us committed to a goal. There are, in fact, 4 words that got us committed to a goal. That came from Jim Dornan. If I never got this email from Jim, I might not be standing here this evening. Right? Just 4 words. I couldn't get myself committed. My wife couldn't get me committed to the goal. Kevin and Tamsin couldn't get me committed to the goal. Basil and Leonie couldn't get me committed to the goal. Jim just sent 4 words and it got us committed to a goal. Right? I don't know what's going to get you committed to what you want to do. Commitment also comes about in terms of the words that you use. I'll try means I'm not committed, but I'll give it a shot. Right? That's what I'll try means. I'd like to means I'm committed, but if it happens, I'd like to means I'm not committed, but if it happens, it will be great. I hope, well, we've chatted about that, means I'm not committed, but if somebody else does that, that's also okay. Right? As opposed to I will, I commit, and I promise. Commitment is essential to any result. Imagine when you leave here on Sunday evening or Monday and you get on the aeroplane and you're flying back to wherever you're going to, and the pilot says to you, welcome on board, whatever flight it is, I hope to get you to your destination in the next 6 hours. And I hope that we can land this plane safely with the weather that's coming ahead of us. You'd grab your bags and you'd be off the plane in a second. You wouldn't even think twice. You want to be around people that are committed to their task. Does that make sense to you? Right? I find people who are not committed come up with any excuse. And again, I'm not the boss. I cannot get them right. I used to be and learned my lesson many, many times over on the way from Platinum to Emerald. But I'm just not the boss. It's got to come from within for somebody to be committed to what they want, not for me to give it to them. The people that Lauren and I work with in our business, even if I wanted to try to be their boss, I couldn't. In fact, one of the gentlemen that Lauren and I work with, he runs a 4 billion rand property portfolio in South Africa. And he always jokes that he says that I'm not even that qualified that he could have even employed me when he met me. I could never be his boss. I could never tell him he has to be committed to this. I can just encourage him with my self-example, show him what this business can offer to him, and hopefully he sees it and guide him in the right direction. We learned very, very quickly how to pass people up the line. One of the strengths that we have is we extremely, extremely deliberate on edification. Extremely deliberate. And it's being committed to that process to make sure that we've got that in place. Does that make sense to you? Right? Although Kevin's my best friend, I never want to take him for granted. Now, hey, when we're on the golf course, it's a different story. There's no edification on the golf course, in the boxing ring, anywhere else. But in the business, there's edification. Jim knows it took a long time for us to learn that deliberately. It's something we had to learn. It's not something that just comes along. So I find that when you really get committed to something, the case is closed. It's going to happen. No matter what you do, it's going to happen if you learn how to put all those things in place. So if I can get these other slides up, I just want to give you a brief story about commitment from our side. This is a theme park in Johannesburg, South Africa. Now, you'll notice during the story how different this theme park is to what you got down the road over here in Disneyland. But you can see that that's a step ladder, and on the top of the step ladder, which is on ropes, it's linked to a bolt that actually turns around. It swivels completely around. So you have to have your balance 100% correct to go on that step ladder. Now, if you can get from the bottom of that ladder to the top, and on the left-hand side of that box, you can see there's a bell. Now, if you can ring that bell, they give you one of those big teddy bear cheetahs on the top of that attraction, the amusement attraction there. So we went to this amusement park. This was about 15 odd months ago. And my little boy, he was about 15 months. You'll learn a lot about our kids through this weekend. and Jared was 15 months old, and he could barely speak, but he pointed at the cheetah, and he just wanted the cheetah. Now, my first reaction was, okay, well, this is pretty simple. Let me get on this ladder and get up and get him his cheetah. So I said to the gentleman who runs the attraction, how many people get to the top of the ladder from the bottom? So he said, you mean in a day, a week, a month? I said, no, how many people get there? He says, about one a month. I said, you're kidding. I said, how much does a cheetah cost? He said, you can't buy it. So I needed to figure out one a month, and that normally is a professional gymnast or someone like that who's got unbelievable balancing skills on how to get from there to the top. Now, once I was zoned in, I was committed. Every time your foot touches that, the plastic, the inflated plastic at the bottom, you pay again to go. Right? So you don't want to spend the whole day there because it could cost quite a bit of money. So I had to figure out what's my strategy to get him the cheetah. I couldn't just take it and run off because they'll catch me. Although it was an option in the beginning. So I'm 6'5". That's about 13 foot from the bottom to the top. Maybe just over that, 14 foot. So I thought, well, if I can go in that position that you see me over there and I can just dive and stretch out, I might be able to hit the bell. And if I can hit that bell, Jared can have his cheetah. So I thought, that's what I'll do. But here's the catch. You see, at the end over there, underneath the bell, that cushion is not even inflated. Because they don't expect people to get there. Right? One a month, no one's really getting there. So that's exactly what I did. I just steadied myself like that, dived up, hit the bell, but as I hit the bell, I fell through the inflatable plastic and hit my head straight on a pole underneath there. So now, the good news is Jared's got his cheetah. The bad news is I've got a whole gash on my forehead over here that needs a whole lot of stitches. Now, when I need stitches, I'd rather go glue it up myself or do those kind of things because I'm not the happiest person in the doctor's room. But anyway, they took me to the medical center. And if I can go to the next slide, my wife thought it was pretty amusing to take a picture of the doctor over there trying to patch things up, and he wouldn't stitch me up. He said I need to go to a specialist clinic and get stitched up because stitches in your face and so on and so on. So we're sitting over there. I'm just happy Jared's got his cheetah. I got a headache, but he's got it. And off we went to the hospital to go get stitched up and get everything done. But Jared had his cheetah. And every single morning for the next 6-7 months, he would come downstairs because that's where the cheetah lived. The cheetah's name is Stitches for obvious reasons. And he would just hug the cheetah. That's what he would do every single morning. And it was worth it. For me, that was the difference between commitment and interested. Because most dads will look at that ride, think, no ways. One person a month, can't do it, we'll go buy you another teddy bear. For me, when my son wanted that, there was no ways I was leaving there without that. Whatever price I had to pay. If we can go to the next slide, thanks, Henry. That's what it looked like when the stitches and all that came out. Right? Have you got the difference between commitment and interest? You're interested in getting the cheetah for your kid, you're committed to getting the cheetah for your kid. You choose. The difference between people is that there are those who are interested and those who are committed. The key to success is going from being interested to being committed. Once you're committed, you'll produce results. At the point of commitment, you mentally burn all the bridges and you do whatever it takes to make things happen. Get rid of the excuses. That's generally all it is at the end of the day. So we've spoken about the difference between desperation and inspiration. I've spoken about the difference between hope and expectancy. I've spoken about the difference between interest and commitment. And you would have noticed that every one of those emotions have feeling to it. Right? It comes from internally, not from the outside. It comes from you, not from somebody else giving it to you. And those were the 3 handbrakes that held us back between emerald and diamond. Now, if everything I've mentioned is going above your head or what you're thinking about right now, I apologize for that, but I can promise you there's going to come a day in your business, on your journey to wherever you're going, that those 3 points are going to be very relevant to you to move forward. See, Netto 21 will give you the roadmap. Netto 21 will equip you with everything you need and the leadership you have to build this business. But if you just sit there and do nothing, it's not really going to help. Now, hey, we understand that some people love being around this environment, and that's great. We respect that and we appreciate it, because we'd much rather have them around this environment than any other environment. But for people who want to grow, you have to do something. Right? You have to be willing to go out and do some work to get things happening. Because you're not really going to get paid for the amount of knowledge you have. You're going to get paid for what you do with that knowledge. And we just learned a saying from a famous person that don't let your learning lead to knowledge, let your learning lead to action. And I find that so many people who want to grow will come into an environment and take truckloads of notes, and they'll let all that learning just lead to knowledge and not really do much of the knowledge. Now, that's okay if that's what you wanted to do. But if you want to move forward, you've got to take that knowledge and put it into action to make things happen. And then learn what the handbrakes might be for you. What I love about this business is what we've done can never be taken away from us. Right? What we've done, we own forever. We do this business, firstly, for ourselves, and secondly, we do this business to hand on to my kids. Because when I look at my grandparents, both my grandparents were income earners. Both of them earned incomes their whole life. They didn't have bad lives. They didn't have fantastic lives. They provided a good life to my parents. And my parents and my dad is an income earner. My dad's 64 years old and he still goes to work in his business every single morning. There's nothing wrong with that. But I didn't want that for Laura and I and for our future generations. And we just wanted to change that from an income earner to a wealth generator. My kids will work for whatever they want to achieve. But I just know that what we're building is there if I ever want to give it to them and if they ever need that. And that's what you're building this business for, presumably, right? For your future generations and where to go. And Darwin is really a great place to be, but it's just a starting point on the next journey for us. Right? It's a great place to pull people up to, and it's a great place